Anyways, I'll do a straight peen. So the difference between how you forge a straight peen and a cross peen. So if this is a cross peen, I'd have those holes straight up and down, and I'd squish it this way. Straight peen, I'm going to have to squish it this way with the holes oriented left to right versus up and down. The punching of the hole is done. I pre-drill holes so I can stay where I want to stay versus it drifting left and right, east and west, however you want to say it. But those are just guides. And they allow me to see down in there and make sure I'm at least halfway for my punch. This is a modified punch. It's got a little bit of a bevel on that end, and it's so that I can clear any clinker that gets hung in there. This is just a clean out tool. Hopefully we don't need it, but it's good to have. And then I have a drift just to open up that eye. These are just little starter drifts. The finish drift is bigger, and this is determined by whatever size handle you want to put in there. This will not work for a handle like this.
Too big.
Yeah, so this will just fall through that hole. Axe handle, it's a little small for that. So if the eye is too small for your handle, you can always shave down your handle a little bit. But if you have a bunch of handles and you want to make tools to fit those handles, it just saves you time on the woodworking end.
You can't upset the wood quite as easily.
Right, right. So this will work for that. This was just a handle that I'd cut off from something else. So, anyways. You always want to make sure your tooling is going to work for the stock you're going to use for your handle, or whatever you're going to put in that hole. You don't want to have to do any more work than you want. You're already punching the hole, so make the hole the size you need it to be.
You want to start back?
No, I'm all right. I'm good. Okay. So if I was going to do a rounding hammer, when I finish my drift, my last pass with my drift, I could have that there, and I could upset that face or do any work to this square face that I needed to, and that would maintain its roundness. It just gives it a block to set into. You can't shape the round with a swedge. You have to do that with the hammer, but that will back it so you can finish the smooth.
You can't shape the dome on a round with a swedge?
No.
No.
Well, so you can. If you have somebody with a 24-pound hammer that is running at it 1,000 miles an hour, if you're strong enough. You can do anything if you're strong enough.
Yeah, you can work a goal if you're strong.
Right. So,
I just never thought about not being able to do a nose with this guy.
Right. So the big deal is you're having to overcome the material and push it. So if you're pushing that hard, you've already thinned this section. You've already thinned the eye.
Oh.
So you will crash.
You'll crush the eye.
You'll crush the eye.
Unless you've got a drift in there that you're holding it with.
You can't hold it with a drift because a drift is tapered. So you're only holding one side. So you'll kink that eye.
Got it.
One side will close up because it's not being supported. You could possibly make something that would pin in there with a pair of tongs or something like that. But it's easier to support that, only heat that end, and do like Nathan does, and he spins that piece and knocks them corners in, which leaves the centers high. It flares it, and then you can smooth it by dropping that in there and planish it. Right. So you can finish it that way, but you can't put it in there that way because we tried and it failed. No, that center hole, it kicks the eye off. I mean, well, you can, But if you're doing the rounds and you want your faces to be a little bit bigger than the house of your handle, so you're flaring them, so you can't punch the hole last unless you build a bolster that barely fits underneath there. So you're chasing things, whereas you can just stand that up on end, drive those four corners in, and make it right there after the hole, and you don't have any problems. So, anyways, I don't have this offset much because I'm not going to do too much for the peen, but the I'm going to do a straight peen. He asked for a straight peen. Right. So,
how much material do you think you have there? What are you starting with?
This 1.25 inches.
Yeah.
Probably going to be right around a 2-pound hammer. It's a little. Okay. They feel a little bit heavier than 2 pounds. It was just some bar stock that we had. It sparks really well. So. It didn't forge like
spring.
It didn't forge like a 1095, but it forged more like a bucking bar. Okay. It's the same material this is made out of. Okay. So, anyways, it's 3.5 long, 1.25 inches wide, and I'm just kicked back a little bit from center, maybe less than 1/4 off center. The short side will be the peen.
Any idea what carbon range you're looking for hammers? Is it 1060?
1060 is high.
No, it's high.
It's high. So when we made our hammers with Nathan, he used 1045. Okay. And it gets plenty hard.
I couldn't remember. I made a hammer that day.
That's 1045. That was the bar stock he could get at that time, and he really liked it because it was easy on the quench because it was low alloy. 4140 will also work, but you really just want to heat the faces and not the eye when you quench it, because you can split out an eye if you heat the whole thing. And so when he does 4140, he switched up and made just a bunch of piled of bricks. But he put a burner on each end, and he drops the chunk onto a block in the center, and there's a blast coming from either end. And then when he picks it up, he dunks the whole thing. But so he'll cycle one in, he'll go over and grind on the one he just quenched, and get it ready for the heat treat, tempering in an oven. And then he'll pull switch them out, quench another, and so he'll go in batches. Anyways, and so, he bases his heat treat on what he has, what material he's using. But if you get into the 70s and 90s, S7, I have one out there. It's Brent Bailey. He air cools it. There's no quench to it. He wants it to be as tough as it is. It's going to be way harder than you need it to be. But you want your hammer to have just a little bit of give. If it can get a mark on it, you can always buff a mark off, but you don't want it to chip, because when it chips, it shoots it out like a bullet, and it will bury itself in you. So,
I was getting a pen out of a backward bucket, and he started.
I did. Nope, you're fine.